right where yours thing says full screen, I had the option to switch between speaker view and full view. It's a good look for me.
Hank, I've started the live stream.
Hello? Hello, Nancy. Long time no see.
Hey, Terry. It's amazing to me how
Hey,
I just saw
everybody.
Ed, how many people have short hair, and Mike, how many people have short hair again?
Man, I'll have to send you all a picture of what, I mean, I was getting really hairy. It was bad.
Were you a throwback from the
Oh,
80s?
It was, yeah, absolutely. I mean, my hair hasn't been that long since I was, freshman, sophomore year in high school. It curled on the sides, back, and was like, I
Me
sent
too.
a
Me
picture
too,
to
Mike.
my mom. My mom was like, "Oh my!" It's like, yes.
Yeah, I was getting really raggedy there for a while, Nance.
I was waiting.
Yeah.
I knew you'd say something.
Oh, my.
Got the lawnmower out,
Yeah, yeah.
Again.
Well, they
Jim,
said
you're
that that
always,
was, they said that that was the
your
biggest
hair's always
selling
a little
item.
blown in the wind.
Yeah, they said clippers were the biggest selling item for a long time.
Free in my house.
Did you say you were going to give your haircut to anybody who wanted to come over?
You're muted.
No
Jim.
takers.
No takers.
No takers.
I actually thought about shaving my head at the beginning of the whole thing. So I thought, what else, hopefully I'll never have to do it again, but I did that.
See how long it took to grow it back?
Yeah. Maybe I could rock that shiny
Yeah.
look. At least my dandruff would be better under control.
Hey, if I can rock it, anybody can rock it.
Well, I know we have at least 4 board members here.
Yep. Yeah, because I'll have my headphones on.
So let's call to order. You ready, Hank?
What? Right. I can't hear a damn thing.
How are we
Julie,
doing,
you on?
everybody?
Hi. Hear anything?
Are we ready to call to order?
From the laptop. I can't hear
You
anything.
still can't hear? We can hear you, Julie. But you can't hear us?
I cannot hear you at all.
Okay. Give us a second. We have a slight technical difficulty right now.
I don't know. I think Julie's got the advantage.
Well, this is the first time we've tried to do it from the office here. Yeah. She just would have to mute hers. Oh, we're switching devices?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to run off an agenda. Oh, well.
So Janice, I realize it's a couch behind you, but for a moment it looked like a coffin and it really threw me for a loop.
Ooh.
Yeah, Janice. She
Yes,
moved her,
it
she
is.
moved.
I'm actually multitasking right now because I'm finishing up a meeting with NCTE. So I have my other computer up high, but yes, it is a daybed.
So if we get too bored, you're going to take a nap? Is that what you're saying?
No, I promise I won't do that.
I will.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Rod, do you want to get us streaming?
We're all set.
Oh, we're already streaming?
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, let's have a call to order and the roll call, please.
We're getting Julie signed in here.
Oh,
Are you all
sorry.
set? No, Julie's still joining. We had a computer malfunction here.
Very common in this virtual world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, it's so nice out. We should all have gone to the park and sat,
We could have social distanced in the school parking lot.
there you go.
I'm tired of the house.
Yeah, I'm with you.
My work has gotten really slow, so my pipeline kind of dried up. We got done all of our work that we had, and I haven't had, many people sign up for new work. So we decided just to take the week off. So I'm back in Michigan. At our
Oh, okay.
Oh, how nice.
weather looks supposed to be great this week, and why not? So
I have
Yeah.
a good time, Abby.
yeah, thank you.
You're fine. Can we hear Julie? All right. All right, whenever you're ready, Nancy.
Okay, let's start with the call to order and the roll call.
Okay, Nancy Kupka,
Present.
Mike Davenport,
Here,
Cheryl Fuller,
Here,
Dan Nicholas.
Here.
Thank you. Terry Pavasich,
Here.
Rick Pavanato,
Here.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Here.
Thank you.
Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of the United States of America
and
and
to
to
the
the republic
For which
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty and justice
Justice for all.
Amen.
Julie, can you, if we're gonna, you're,
Are we ready?
we are ready.
And Pete's already enjoying retirement. I see him sitting someplace warm with one.
What's his Zoom background today?
It's just the beach and the ocean.
All right.
Okay, the first, we need the first matter of business is we need the Board of Education. Excuse me, we need a movement. I'm so sorry. It's been a long day. I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the minutes of the May 18th, 2020 business meeting. We've had the minutes prior to this meeting for examination. The minutes will be made public within 10 days of board approval.
So moved.
Terry moves,
second,
Mike seconds.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
aye.
Cheryl Fuller,
aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. The second order of business is the public comment section. Do we have anybody wishing to make a public comment?
We haven't received any public comment, nor do we have anybody here in the district office in person.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move directly on to the proposed issuance of working cash bonds.
Actually, Nancy, before we get into that, I would like to take a moment to recognize Pete before we move into the rest of the agenda.
Absolutely.
Just formally, as we mentioned a second ago, tonight is Pete's last board meeting before he retires from District 99. Pete has obviously been a valued member of the district administration for many years, and before that was at North High. He is absolutely one of my most trusted advisors on our team, and he has especially been steadfast in his leadership during times of crisis in our district, and I will miss him greatly as a member of our team. Our district has been well served and well represented by Pete, both locally and at the state and national level. He's been essential in our equity work for years, has helped us to diversify our staff while also being focused on supporting new staff as they join the district and become long-standing members here. I found it interesting. Pete chose this quote for his retirement video, which was Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else, and that's from Mr. Fred Rogers. And although Pete is at the end of time here in District 99, he was retiring and moving on to a new role in the Lake Forest schools as their Director of Human Resources. He'll be lucky enough to serve 2 school boards there. And we wish him the best of luck in his new role, and we're glad that he'll still be around for when we need him. So, Pete, thank you and good luck.
Oh, thank you. I don't know what to say. Very kind, very gracious. Really enjoyed my time here. Worked with a lot of great board members over the years. I think we've had a really good relationship, and you guys will be in great hands moving forward. The district's been here for 100 years before us. It'll be here 100 years after us. So none of us are, too important here that we can't be replaced. So thanks, Hank.
Thank you, Pete.
Pete, you leave some pretty big shoes to fill. And I think I speak for everybody when I say we are all appreciative of everything you've given to the district and to each of us. And frankly, as excited as we are to have somebody new come in with some fresh ideas, we're all just so grateful to you, and we're all going to miss you terribly. And we just all wish you the best of luck.
Absolutely, Nancy. Here, here.
Here, here.
Thank you,
Yes.
Pete. Yeah, thank you, Pete. I'm gonna miss your kind spirit. And I didn't realize that you didn't get the memo that all the retirements have been pulled back. So due to
Canceled.
canceled due to these uncertain times we're in.
Yes.
I agree with that, Pete. Sorry. We love
Call the
you.
vote, Julie, call the vote.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete. I've so appreciated your wisdom, and I think somebody said something about being steadfast and you just always calm. And our board meetings, past boards haven't always been calm, but you certainly were, and just a real guiding light for us all. So we're going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. So thank you again, Pete, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
We
Pete.
are gonna
Thank
miss
you very
you.
much.
Thank you, Pete, for all that you've given to this district. It's we can't even mention it all. It's just fabulous, and I myself, I'm going to miss sitting next to you and ribbing you about the Brewers.
Thank you.
You take care.
All right, thank you for allowing me to interject that there. All right, so working cash bonds, as we've discussed a couple of times here in the past, just with, as Sherelle just said, in these uncertain times and not knowing fiscally what's going to happen moving forward, especially at the state level, we're going to be making a recommendation of issuing $10.3 million in working cash bonds. And I'm going to turn it over to Mark to say a couple of comments on that.
Okay. Actually, we won't have to do it if we revoke all the retirements. We'll pull everybody back and don't pay them. That'd be the one way to do it. You kind of stole my thunder exactly. The economy is really what I'm looking forward to the next 2 years or so is what has us concerned. If you think about the deficit at the federal and the state level and how they've just ballooned up even worse last year, that creates the uncertainty of their ability to provide a consistent revenue stream to us. And so we've always had this safety net, which is a debt service extension base where we could issue potentially $20 to $30 million worth of bonds if we have an emergency. And so we're using a little bit of that, not all of it, but a little bit of it. And primarily just because the signals are out there that we probably should fortify ourselves because of what we should expect over the next couple of years, but also that the interest rates are extremely low right now, and they make it so that we'll probably get this done for less than 2% all-in cost. And it's just, I think just the right thing to do for the district at this time to fortify what we have. If we're wrong and we have no issues and our revenue comes in and we, start building our reserves back, we could always pay the debt service from the bond proceeds. We can just pay it off. And so we could almost undo this if we needed to, or felt that was deserved to do over the next 3 or 4 years. So it's just trying to make sure we have, doing our best, putting our best foot forward and making sure that our ability to serve our students as well as we can. And there's a lot of service issues also that I think it should just remind us of. It's not going to be the same old school for the next couple of years, even, and particularly this year, getting back on our feet, with the kids in the normal teaching programs that we're used to. So all those factors kind of weighed in on it, and that would require Nancy tonight, I think immediately after this, speaking, to announce a hearing on a petition for working cash bond.
Any
All right.
questions, comments? Hearing none, we will move on to that announcement. The Board of Education of the district intends to sell bonds in the amount of $10,300,000 for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of the district. The Bond Issue Notification Act of the State of Illinois, as amended, requires the board to hold a public hearing concerning the board's intent to sell the bonds before adopting a resolution providing for the sale of the bonds. I hereby call a public hearing to be held at 6:30 p.m. on the 20th day of July 2020 at the Administrative Service Center, 6301 Springside Avenue in Downers Grove, Illinois, concerning the board's intent to sell the bonds and to receive public comments regarding the proposal to sell bonds. I hereby direct the Secretary of the Board to publish notice of the hearing at least once in the Suburban Life and Daily Herald. At the hearing, the board will explain the reasons for the proposed bond issue and permit persons desiring to be heard an opportunity to present written or oral testimony within reasonable time limits.
And just to note, if we're still virtual, I will still be here at the district office so that people can come and present their comments. And if we're still virtual, we'll have the online form open as well. So people can choose to provide comment either way that they're comfortable.
Thank you, Hank. Moving on, let's talk about the update on remote learning and returning to school guidance.
All right, so at the end of the last school year, we surveyed all of our students, families, and staff, or gave them the opportunity to provide feedback. We're in the process of going through all of that right now, but there's some trends that are clearly emerging, which are, everybody understood that we were working under very unusual, strange circumstances. And a lot of comments that people felt like, we did a good job and did our best, and people were well served considering, we were turning that around within days' notice. However, if we do return to a model of remote learning, we've heard very clearly from all three groups that there needs to be significant changes in grading, attendance, and also face-to-face instruction, like video conferencing, like what we're doing right now. That there's periods of that built into every class period. Outside of that, we're working on going through everything, and we'll create a formal report on that feedback by the end of this month and put that out for the board and the public to see what we learned from all of that feedback. We expect that in the next few days that the Illinois State Board of Education will provide guidance on recommendations for returning the next school year. We've been told that there will be a lot of local control and decision-making in this guidance. And based on conversations I've been having with a lot with the DuPage superintendents, we've been meeting on a weekly basis with all superintendents across the county, and as a weekly basis with high school and unit superintendents to discuss what everybody's learning and thinking and hearing. The way that I see this right now moving forward is one of 4 scenarios. One, we're not able to return. because of guidance in such way that we can't get students together. The big factor in this, there are a couple of them. The biggest factor is right now they're saying groups of 50 in phase 4. What we don't know yet is if that's any 50 people at any one time, or if it's a cohort of 50 like people that must be kept together. Until we get the guidance on that, it's really hard to build school. We're not like an elementary school, so we don't have like cohorts for a whole school day. So if the requirement is a like cohort of 50 students, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to return in any way that looks similar to high school in the past. We could also end up at a point where there's a stay-at-home order because of an increasing number of cases over the next school year. So we'll have to have a remote learning model figured out. So we know we have to do that. That will be one of the models we'll prepare for. The next model we'll prepare for is remote learning, that enhanced kind of remote learning that we talked about, making changes based on what we've learned, with bringing back select groups of students that weren't able to be successful in remote learning or programmatically can't, or are English learners, so remote learning just doesn't work at all, depending on their level of English acquisition. Or students that need a face-to-face experience. So like you have an AP class and they have to do this lab at school. The only way they're going to get that experience is to come in and do the lab. So you work those students through in small enough groups that you can make it work. So then the next level would be some kind of a rotation, depending on the number of students that we're able to bring back at any one time. Rotations that bring in 1/8, 1/4, 1/2 of your students at any one time. The duration of how long we could bring students back during a school day depends on what the recommendations are around lunch periods. It's very difficult to maintain social distancing and eat lunch at the same time because you can't wear a mask and eat at the same time. So those variables will play into, how long of a duration. Because after 5 hours, we have to feed students, which, you'd want to eat after 5 hours. So we've got to factor that in. And then the final option is obviously full return to school. All of those depend greatly on the guidance that we get here moving forward. We also understand that there is a committee working on just remote learning, and that guidance should come out by the end of the month. So those are the scenarios we're looking at right now. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah, Hank. So are you thinking that there'll be some consensus with all the superintendents about what to do? I mean, I think ideally, most of the districts in the area might end up having a similar plan. If everybody's doing a little something different, I can see where the public is going to say, well, why aren't we able to do that? They're doing it, that it make things difficult, I think, for people who decide to maybe take a little more cautious approach. So just what you're thinking on that.
I think our first variable for us locally will be the DuPage County Health Department and them telling us what schools can do, and we'll all be guided by that across the entire county. So that'll be similar. I think how your building is constructed will factor into some of this. How transportation works for your community will factor into this, and what the requirements are for transportation. Some of the models we've seen are 10 kids to a school bus. Well, that will be very challenging. That will take us 6 or 7 buses to run a normal route. So if you're in a community where almost all your kids transport themselves or walk, or it might look different in that type of a community. There's going to be differences based on those kinds of things, physical plant, transportation, and those kinds of things. But there's going to be other things that are not going to be negotiable for school districts, which will come back to what the Illinois Department of Public Health and the DuPage County Health Department tell us, and any mandates coming out of Illinois State Board of Education, the governor's office, or the legislature.
I have a question about staff. What about staff who feel uncomfortable coming back? What are you planning to do about that?
We're still waiting for the guidance from
Still
the state
waiting?
on that. Yeah. So it would be inappropriate for me to forecast that at this point without knowing exactly what it will be. But we know that both for staff and for students, there are going to be a group that don't want to return or can't because of medical conditions. We
Yeah.
also know that there's going to be a group of people that no matter what the medical guidance is, they're going to want their children to return to school, or staff members that would much rather be working at school than at home. So we're going to see it from all different directions here.
Okay.
And I have two questions. Have you seen guidance, or people at least hinting at guidance about what to do if you have a staff member who like has a close contact who's positive, their spouse or somebody they live with is positive, or whatever, and how we'll manage those, because it's really going to put a lot of people out.
Yeah, most of what we've seen is a 14 to 21 day quarantine period. If you've been exposed, or contact tracing leads to the possibility of you being exposed, which will put some great pressures on us as a school, because then your subs are almost all long-term subs.
Yeah. Just a FYI, CDC changed their guidance for healthcare workers to 10 days.
Okay.
And part of the reason for that was they couldn't sustain enough people to work to take care of the ill. So I would imagine something will follow.
Yeah, I haven't seen revised guidance for us yet, but we've been following kind of what's worked for them is kind of what's made its way to us. So
the other question, and I almost laugh asking this, is now that we've air conditioned the building, if people did need to return, can we open the windows?
Well, we could, but that once again, Jim, do you want to weigh in? You've been doing some research on filtering and outside air. I don't know if you're prepared to speak, but I'll put you on the spot.
No, not a problem. Not a problem at all, Hank. So Nancy, I would hate to bring all that hot and humid air and make everyone so uncomfortable. So the flip side to that is we were ready, and even in my bid purchasing, we were looking into different filtration systems for our filters, and we're also bringing in more fresh outside air. Now there's an adverse effect to that because you'll run the piece of equipment a little harder, but I think there's good that comes out of that because you're turning the air over in a space much quicker. So you're getting out air and you're bringing it in, but it's going to have to cool if we're bringing hot air in. So instead of 10% outside occupancy, we're going to bring in 20%. See how that works. We're also going to put these filters in. I think that's going to be phenomenal. And there's also some other things as far as sanitizing and cleaning that's to come later in the summer that we're going to do to our buildings to get ready for possibly bringing everybody back. My biggest concern would be the hallways and construction and that spacing of back and forth to areas inside our buildings, where how are we going to have that spacing? I mean, you can just imagine how bad it was in stairwells and hallways at these two schools before there was construction.
Yeah.
So, but I think with the air quality, I think we got a good handle on it. We could always be tweaking throughout the course of the year as well. And as it gets colder, to me, it's better. Then you can even bring more outside air.
Thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Hank, something else that's unique to our schools is this construction. And so I guess I'll be curious to see what the protocol is going to be to handle, while if we've got students in the building, if one or two of the construction workers come down with COVID, what does that do to us? So,
yeah, go ahead, Jim. I see you're ready.
Because we've already been discussing this. So many of those areas will be kind of quarantined to a certain, like the auditorium over at South. They're going to be within an area and not outside those walls. So if something happens in that unique area, it's just that group of people that are affected. They're not going to be intervening or having any social contact with any of the students or anybody in the hallway. So that'll be kind of, if something happens and that group's out, and they bring a different group in.
So are we, under normal conditions, there wouldn't be that much concern about keeping things separate, like you're mentioning. And I know that there might be occasion for a guy to walk somewhere or go get something or cut through somewhere. I mean, those protocols are all going to be gone over with White and coordinated, I would suspect, right?
Absolutely. And
yeah.
as we speak, they're all being tested on a daily basis. So they're getting their temperatures checked. They're wearing their masks. So we had one possible incident this past summer that was strictly outside, and the one individual ended up testing negative. So White's protocol for anyone at the workspace is pretty aggressive right now, and I'm sure it will even get more aggressive as we go into a school year with students coming back and staff.
And I mean, to be honest, close contact is defined as within 6 feet for 10 minutes or greater within 2 days prior to the onset of illness. So casual contact with somebody who's positive. Now, of course, there's no magical curtain that falls down that opens up at 6 feet or 10 days or 10 minutes. But there's low risk transmission of just like casual passing. You wouldn't want us to stay in like large groups of people passing, but if somebody wanders off to get something, it's really a low risk issue.
Oh, what was that, Nancy? I missed. I just wanted you to repeat the messages for close contact and the period of time.
Close contact is defined as being within 6 feet for 10 minutes or longer of a person with COVID or presumed to have COVID-19. Okay. And that can occur 2 days prior to the onset, actually 2 to 3 days prior to the onset of symptoms, till after they're symptomatic. You can be positive and never have symptoms.
So
or
you're saying
you could test negative and you could have COVID. So you never really know.
Less than 10 minutes is not considered then exposure? Is that what you're saying?
It's lower as you're not considered a close contact. So okay. You evaluate a person who's a close contact different. You evaluate people who are presumed to be positive or known to be positive. You evaluate people who are close contacts, like family members, people who have defied social distancing orders and continue to, go out with their friends, things like that. And then people who you pass casually are not necessarily close contacts, even if they're positive. I mean, is there a chance that you could transmit the virus to somebody who you pass casually? Absolutely. The probability is much lower though.
And we're following that. That's the same or similar guidance to what we're getting from the DuPage County Health Department. So right now in the office staff that are in, we are tracking anybody that on a daily basis, you're keeping a running list of anybody that you have spent more than 10 minutes with, or I think we're keeping 5 minutes just to be safe right now. But the DuPage County extended that the last time we talked to them to a longer time period, but we established the protocol of anybody that you've been within 6 feet of for more than 5 minutes, keep track of it. And that way we can contact trace if anybody tests positive. So I would expect, we don't meet until July 20th, but I would expect, please board members, keep a close eye on your email, that you're going to be getting a lot of updates as guidance comes out and we start making plans about how we might return of what we're thinking of doing. I would like to, if the state gives us enough time to prepare, I would like to be able to put out our optional plans and what we're thinking of doing and get a small committee together to vet those and get them out to the larger public well in advance of us returning to school. But a lot of this is out of our control right now, just waiting for that formalized guidance to come to us.
Yeah.
So I think that's, a couple other things related to that. Sorry, I had in here my notes. Driver's education. is one of the phase 3 summer options that has been opened up to us. Gina's been working with a couple of the lead teachers in driver's ed to put together protocols. She's been working with Jim and CMG to talk through cleaning protocols. We expect that sometime in the next couple of weeks that we'll start bringing students back in groups of 2, and there'll be a whole protocol for symptoms checking and all of those things before they get into a car and start logging hours driving. But we have a huge backlog of driver's education behind the wheel time to make up. So we'll be following that guidance and those protocols for that and start giving that a go here over the next couple of weeks. And then our athletic directors are working with coaches to look at who might want to return under these new return to play guidelines from IHSA. It's really return to workouts. It's not anything that's structured sporting activities. So far, it's just been a few coaches that have expressed interest. We're working on a plan. That plan will come to me. I will run it past everybody that we're supposed to run it past, our attorneys, probably our insurance company, the DuPage County Health Department. We'll make sure that everybody thinks our protocols are correct. We will, if the numbers continue to improve here, we will likely be in phase 4 by the time we can get phase 3 protocols underway for any of those. Seeing as that we didn't receive phase 3 protocols until last week. We might be in phase 4 as soon as June 26th if things go well. But you know, we're going to take our time and make sure we do it right and not rush back to anything. So those are changes we're looking at making that might be ready sometime end of June, beginning of July.
And I'd be hesitant about driver's ed, boy.
Yeah, it's 2 students with masks, with windows open for driving.
Maybe face shields.
No, we don't have face shields planned. No.
Curious about facility rentals. Is there any talk about that? You know, particularly swim teams that my daughter's, you know, keenly interested in what's the future there for her club, being able to get in, you know, short-term, long-term, that sort of thing. And I imagine we've got people who want to use the fields and things like that as well. Are we getting guidance on that too, down the road?
We are not going to move forward with that in the short term. Right now, we're working on getting our own people back.
Right.
To get rentals back, there's a whole set of protocols for that, which include them having to put together a whole set of plans to return to use our facilities. By the time those plans were vetted and in place, we would no longer likely be in phase 3. So we're going to wait for rentals until we're in phase 4 and we get that guidance. And then we'll evaluate what the protocols are under that, because we hopefully will be in phase 4 for a long period of time, you know, that the numbers stay good, and it's until a vaccine shows up. It makes more sense for us to wait until we understand how all that works.
Right.
Plus, you know, we're not ready to have our own groups return yet.
Right.
So I don't want to start bringing in outside groups until we're ready to bring it back our own groups.
No, it seems like it could be kind of messy to me. So I'm just curious, because I know there've got to be a lot of people out there that are, you know, itching to get back. So
yeah, there's a process, but like I said, we'll wait till it's phase 4.
Smart.
Anything else on remote learning or returning to school? If not, the consolidated district plan, Nina?
I'll turn this over to Gina.
Okay, thank you. As the board may recall from our last meeting, I reviewed the basic components of the consolidated district plan. Consolidated district plan encompasses several of our EL grants, our special education IDEA grant, as well as our gen ed grants. The plan consists of several different sections related to graduation, student achievement, foster care, college career readiness, professional development, safe learning environments, special ed, and Title I. I prepared a summary document that walks through each of those areas with bullet points. It looks very similar to last year's. There's a few changes in the plan. They did add a special education section, so that obviously has been added. And one other change is we are increasing our bilingual and EL supports to students. And those are the key changes in this plan as opposed to last year's plan. Any questions about the plan?
Oh, I lost her.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry. Hearing none, we'll go to the end of goal summary.
All right.
What happened?
Every year we prepare the end of year goal summary. The whole administrative team collaborates on putting that together. And then we put together an outline, the key areas under each domain where we've had accomplishments. We also in there include some areas we're going to continue working on for the next school year. We use this as the jumping off point, well, closing up last year, obviously, and then the jumping off point for next year's goals. Over the next month, the administrative team will start looking at what those opportunities are for next year and start outlining those goals to come back to the board on July 20th. Any board members that are interested in us kicking around some of those ideas or new things that we should add should share those with Nancy and I over the next month as we work with the team, especially if you can get them to me by July, about the 4th of July, because the week after that, we really start working as a team on this. So this is like the last opportunity to talk about last year formally, and the first opportunity to talk about next year formally. It'd be impossible to talk about last year without talking about COVID and the response to that, since that was about a third of the school year. And if you go into that year-end review, you'll get an idea of some of the stuff that we've been up to since March, responding to that. It was interesting to see. We provided an update to the board on goals in the middle of February. And when I provide those updates to the board, it really looks like a regular school year, and that we're moving forward. And then a month later, we kind of started a whole brand new school year. It was an insane end of the school year for everybody, not just for the world, right? So, it seemed like sometimes we were rewriting instructions and directions hours after issuing instructions and directions. So we had to plan graduation, I think, about 6 times. So it was an interesting end of the school year, to say the least. But, it was interesting to look back and go through the year-end review because we had a lot of good stuff going on heading up into that point of the year, and I'll just kind of go through. We have 5 goal areas that we always address. I'm going to kind of give my quick highlights of the areas. I'm not going to reread the document to you, but from my perspective as the superintendent, from the student experience, I feel like our equity work over the course of this year has really turned a different corner and direction with the involvement of students. Our common experience work got underway in strength and focus this year. Reminder, common experience looks at standards, grading, and assessment across course teams. We got our internship programs formalized and up and running, and those are both scheduled to run next year, which matches up with a strong board goal of workplace readiness. Our PATH program to respond to student suspensions in and outside of school and making sure that that doesn't become chronic, and that we support students as they return to school after a discipline issue. And finally, just coming up with a new metric for the staffing of activities and athletics through the teacher's contract to make sure that we're providing the appropriate resources to student interests in those areas, I think was a huge change for us moving forward. In the area of the staff experience, settling a new five-year teachers contract with a lot of changes in there really sets us up to do some incredible things over the next 5 years. Getting our new personalized professional learning program started this year, a new staff discipline process, and equity work continuing with our staff, all huge highlights. For the family and community lens, I feel like our communication plan, especially led by Jill, has been fabulous and continues to be. And, this is through multiple media formats and through a pandemic. I feel like we've done a great job of keeping our community and our staff and our students informed of everything that's going on. We've done a nice job, I think, of our master facility plan updates. You'll see some of those tonight as we've included the 360-degree views of the construction area, our budget reports. I think that the community, if they want to see what's going on, they definitely can, and those opportunities are there. The work with the Education Foundation continues to get stronger every year, and they have been incredible at stepping up during the pandemic and helping us support students and families. And then throughout the year, we increased parent events and brought in more guest speakers than we ever have before in a variety of different formats. The learning environment, this is our resources. We started the year out with a strong push on pedestrian safety and doing that study in cooperation with the Village of Downers Grove that led to a bunch of recommendations, one of which we'll look at approving tonight. We remain in a strong and responsible fiscal position and look to be that way for the foreseeable future. That 5-year teachers contract keeps us there. The fact that we have the capacity to issue these working cash bonds that we're talking about doing to just make sure that our position is bolstered during uncertain times, that can only happen because of years and years of strong fiscal management, led, of course, by Mark and his team. Our capital projects and master facility plan continuing to improve our facilities. And then we have outstanding IT resources here in District 99, which were really put on display during the remote learning period. The fact that we were one of the first school districts in the country to close the digital divide and ensure that every student had a device and every student had access to the internet really put us poised in a spot where we can move over to remote learning really much more seamlessly than a lot of school districts could. And then for future opportunities, we continue to work on restorative practices this year, especially a big key of that is our PATH program, the new school day schedule that we're looking at for the 21-22 school year. So not for next year, but the year following. That's an exciting thing to come that corresponds with the changes in our facilities. Workplace readiness work that Gina is doing and building stronger relationships with our trade organizations and supporting non-English families. Non-English speaking families. We've made some great strides there this year. And then I would expect that in the next couple of years, we'll look at a more formalized strategic planning process as we've talked about once we wrap up the master facility plan and we know what our facilities and perhaps the future looks like as we make it past a pandemic. We'll start looking at that. So really looking at what next year's goals and coming back, our first goal is figuring out how we do school next year. The next month will take a lot of time and energy to figure that out. But then I also, I want to continue our work around equity. We're doing great work there, but we got a long way to go. Continuing our work around professional learning and the common experience will all be focuses for next year with our staff. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I'll take any questions or comments, but overall, I feel like we had a very successful year.
Successful year is understated. I mean, what an impressive list, right? I just, as I was reading through it all earlier and then again now, it's just, wow. And that was so much, this was accomplished right before the pandemic. And to stay on track and in the midst of all this too is really impressive. And some of the goals that I look at, the things that we've accomplished, the equity being one, just thinking about how that might, considering all that's happening right now in our country, how important that is, and how wonderful it's been that we've, that was such a priority for us already. And but it takes on even a larger meaning, I think, going forward. Overall, though, this is just something for us to be proud of. So many things here, amazing. So job well done by everybody. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
So many things well done and under such duress.
Yeah, duress, and as Hank was saying, rewriting plans 6 times over for graduation, and that's just graduation, right? I mean, how many other times, other things, right? That one day you think you're doing one thing, and then another day, new guidance, something new happens. I mean, boy, for a while there, we all just felt like every day was some new crazy thing happening, and when would it end? And in the midst of that, Hank, you're so right. Our positioning with one-to-one and making sure all of our students had the Wi-Fi access. And I know that there were students that got lost in the midst of things, but I don't know how we could have done it any better. And so, I mean, this end of year summary really doesn't, it doesn't reflect those successes yet, right? I mean, I think I think you could write a whole nother end of year summary for the last 2 months of the school year. So impressive. And once again, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Maybe we all echo Mike's thoughts. Hearing none, we look forward to seeing the final report. But let's move on to English department student goals.
All right. Turn this one over to Mark.
I get unmuted here. We do this each year. We started this about 3 years ago, where we actually go out and bid books nationally. We reduced our costs this year by about another $10,000 by doing it. We paid $118,000 for the books last year. Paid about $140,000 the year before that. So each year we get better. We get more participation in it. And so we're looking for you to approve the lowest responsible bid of $108,864.23 from Complete Book and Media Supply, LLC. They are actually based out of Texas, but each of these companies has different warehousing, and really a lot of it is shipped right from manufacturers to producers. So it doesn't matter where they're located. Turning out very well to use this process.
Questions or comments? I know I've asked this question before, and I don't remember the answer. It doesn't really have to do with the bid, but what do we do with our used textbooks or novels? Do we
novels, maybe Gina should ask. I think primarily it's an English program. Each year we built it up where they have different novels that they read. Right. It's helping them. They dispose of these. They own these personally because they mark them up, and we show them how to mark it up, when to highlight, how to use it as a learning tool. And that's coming from the accountant. So I'm sure somebody who works the other side of the fence knows much more about it.
Mark is absolutely right. The vast majority of the books students keep, they learn how to annotate and text mark, and that's part of the learning process. There are titles that are sometimes difficult to get where we may do a checkout basis, but for the most part, they get to keep the novels.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on student novels? Additional proposed textbooks?
It's an additional textbook. It's a single textbook
Sorry.
for our ESL program. So this is just a first heads up to the board that we're considering adopting this. This one would come back for approval. Oh, it is tonight. Okay. No, we sent it out earlier. Sorry. It's up for approval tonight. Sorry for the stumble there. So this is a U.S. history textbook for our bilingual program.
Comments? Bulk purchasing and copy paper?
This is
Okay, this is our yearly custodial maintenance and ground supplies. Doing it for many years, it's been very successful. 15 bidders, so a lot of vendors submitting bids this year. As you can see, we've got 10 vendors that are being awarded, which means that we're getting some good competition. A lot of the pricing is flat to what we had last year, so that's really good news. And you know, we're each year we're just getting better and better, and the pricing is getting more competitive. So really good to see this. You know, good news all the way from salt, rock salt being very low price to cleaners, all across the board. We're seeing good prices this year, so that's great to see. Just wanted to add, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but as we go through this COVID and pandemic and possibly bringing students and staff back to school, we're going to need additional cleaning products. So we're working on that, along with disinfecting and safety measures for our school district. And I'm working with Mark and Jeree and Gina on possibly getting some grant funding for this. So we're in the midst of doing that and see how it all plays out, but we're being very aggressive on how we're going to do that to make sure our buildings are safe for people to come back to work and school. So all these bids have been reviewed, and the lowest prices are vendors that meet our requirements. So tonight we'll be asking you to approve a total amount of $136,745.95.
Questions? And the ever popular copy paper?
This is Jim's as well.
And I mean, talk about exciting stuff. Nothing better than copy paper. I mean, hang on, folks. This is going to be good.
When you guys woke up this morning, and this is the moment you were looking forward to.
Let's talk about copy paper.
Nothing better. But it really is good news because our program that we've incorporated the past few years with our new printers, and we've established a guideline for our staff and throughout the schools on how we use copy paper and what we're using it for. It's come down tremendously. So we had 6 bidders. The cost for white copy paper has decreased 15%, roughly 14.70. And last year we had a percent decrease as well. So we have lowered 20% in the last 2 years. That's huge. That says we're doing something right. So our plan is working. Very happy with the numbers that have come in for cases of white paper. So we still order color paper as well, and that came in pretty good. So really, this is lowest I've ever brought to the board since I've been doing this. The low bid is Midland paper. They meet our bid requirements. It's within our budget. In fact, it's below our budget. So tonight we'll be asking you to approve Midland paper for $26,516.89.
Great work. Any questions?
I have just a comment to add. When I came in and joined the district 5 years ago, one of the questions was, when would we start to see massive decreases in paper use due to remote learning and printing changes and those kinds of things? Last year was that first year. This year, now you're really starting to see, but you know, you're also seeing a compounding effect between digital learning and then the changes that Jim and the IT team have made in, you know, paper management and printing management are combining to really drive those costs down, you know, and that's, you know, not just an environmental change, but a fiscal change for us. So really glad that we're seeing that pay off.
Okay, anything else? Employee vacation day rollover?
Yes, due to the stay-at-home order and COVID and everything else, many of our employees have not used up their vacation days, our 52-week employees, especially because many had vacations planned during spring break or right after school ended, and really the world is just starting to open up a little bit. We do allow employees to roll over 40 days in total a year, but we still have some that would lose days as a result because they haven't been able to use those. What we're going to ask is under consent tonight is for the board to approve a rollover from today to 1 year from now, at which point everybody would be reduced down to that 40 days. And if they hadn't used them, they would lose them at that point, like they typically do at an end of a year. But we want to just give them a little more time to use them up. That doesn't come at any cost to the board. But it would just give employees a little more flexibility if the world opens back up again. So that's tonight under consent is there.
So just to be clear, so for spring break though, that's, people aren't using, I mean, are people using their vacation bank for spring break or?
No, we had people like myself and Ed and several administrators that had planned to take that week off and go away on vacation. And then instead we spent the week planning for remote learning. So we would have used 5 days that week, but we didn't, right? And other people had other days planned and those kinds of things. So they're just sitting there with this surplus of days that would expire on June 30th of this year.
Let me re-ask my question. For those people who had a break that week because there was no school in session, they don't use their vacation days. That's not.
No, this is only 52-week employees. They work.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
No, just that this seems like a kind thing to do, and you know, a way to say thank you too, I think. So very fair.
Master facility plan progress and the plan alternate for the Dunham Drive itself.
Yep. Let's start with fiscal report, the monthly fiscal report here. We continue to track really well. We have a contingency. That's the first number we always look at. 4.9 million, so just short of 5 million. Reminder, we started a little over 7 when the whole project started. We're about halfway through the summer work right now. And as the contractors and the builders tell us, you know, we've made it through tearing down the auditorium and opening up soils and those kinds of things. We've started tearing up the space in the commons and laying down footings. We're past the phase where a lot of the discoveries of scary stuff happens with unsuitable soils and those kinds of things. So we're trending really well for the summer. We continue to see that owner budget cost number go up a little bit because of asbestos. We continue to find it and continue to remove it. So things are still looking really well so far as the overall budget goes and progress goes. Note that contingency number reflects the next agenda item that we're going to talk about, the Dunham Drive increased bid amount. So just so you, for that point of reference, that's included in there. Rod, if you'll go to the next screen.
Before you do that, I wanted to interject. You know, the fact that our contingency exceeds the unlet amount too, I think is a great indicator of where we're at right now. You know, in terms of risk going forward, not only have we discovered most of the things we're going to discover, there's very unlikely that we're going to have too many surprises left. And, you know, from a budget standpoint, we've already let out everything, you know, pretty much the entire project. There's $1 million something left. So
there's about 99% has been accounted for.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a very, very strong chance that a good portion of that contingency remains, you know, for us right to the end, unless we spend it. So that's all.
And most of the construction that happens over the next 18 months is being built on top of footings that we're now putting in the ground right now. So although we've been asked to make sure we have $1 million in there contingency for next summer's construction. The risks keep getting lower and lower each day that goes by on the project. So thanks for pointing those numbers out, Mike. And then at the next page here, you'll see the contingency again, the furniture allowance. You're seeing that we're ordering furniture. We have a lot of that coming in, and then it'll be a huge furniture purchase for that last phase, which is the 2 commons. That will be a lot of new and different furniture. Right now, a lot of those furniture expenditures are for equipment because we're putting in those STEAM labs or STEAM wings at both schools. So when you're talking about science, technology, engineering, math, you're talking about a lot of equipment that's going in. Moving over, remember our first contingency before we even get to that 4.9 million is that remaining contractor allowances. We only have a little bit left from phase A for sprinklers and that kind of work. We still have some phase B work to close out, but once that closes out, some of that 400,000 might come back into the contingency. And then you see all that phase C work is what's going to happen really towards the end of the summer and through the next year. So that's another $2.2 million in contingency that we expect to spend a large portion of that, but there's likely a portion of that that comes back at the end of this. So we still have real good, solid protections there for our budget moving forward. The remainder of the budget report is available for you. It's like 17 pages long. And we always encourage the board that if you wish to go through that and have any questions, to send them over to me, and I'll find the answers for you and get back to you and the rest of the board, as I always do. So that being said, any questions on budget at this point? It's projecting well. Rod, if you could open up the actual progress report. I'll just highlight this one is what came out last Monday from White. You could expect another one out towards the end of this week, but just to highlight some of the work that's going on. The Fine Arts Edition, that's that STEAM edition over at South. If you drive by the building, it looks incredible. And it's really changed how South High looks from the outside. From the inside, it's dramatic. And I would encourage the board and the public to click on those 360-degree photos and just kind of take a peek at what's going on inside that space. It's just incredible. Bleachers and squad rooms at both sides of the town. The bleachers are up, the press boxes are up, and they look fabulous. Now we're getting to work at the squad rooms underneath those, but really excited about those spaces coming together. Auditorium right now is just a big hole with concrete footings starting to be poured, but if you get a chance to drive by that side of the building, it's pretty impressive to see that big open space there of what's going to become the auditorium, which will be an impressive site once it's in place. Then Learning Commons, you can't see this from the street, you can only see it from these pictures, but you can see the footings and concrete pad being poured for that 3-story enclosed common space, and it gives you an idea of the kind of square footage of volume that we're looking at that will be new space for the students at South High. It's pretty impressive. And then moving over to North High, you can see as we're wrapping up that phase B, that gym, kitchen, alley, multi-purpose loft, the gym, it really looks like a gym now when you take a look at that. And the alley is really an exciting space that our kids are gonna love. You can see that new gymnastic space. It's huge. It looks even bigger when you see it now than it did on paper, and especially the vertical volume in that space is going to be well appreciated by our programs. And then, although as you remember, the soils under the bleachers at South at North set us back, we've caught back up to that. And now beautiful structure up there with a great press box. Looks amazing. It's centered on the field. Imagine that. And it has a lot more room for spectators when we can get people back and spectating sports, or it allows for more room for social distancing one way or another. And then getting underway in Phase C, the Commons, and then all of that space is being opened up and getting started in the core of the building. So you can see all of those images as well. So a lot of work being done, a lot of progress being made.
Nicely done. I'm always amazed anytime I drive past either of the schools, how much you see has changed, even though you only see a sliver of what changes really have happened.
Looks
North
good.
was dramatic from Main Street, looking at that southeast corner where for a while it looked like, you know, somebody just blew up that corner of the building, and now you're seeing it come back together. It's pretty cool to see how that all works, and it will be a dramatic change there for North High. That was kind of the ugliest corner of the building, and it'll be beautiful when it's done, and very functional in increasing our curriculum and programming with that STEAM addition there. All right. And last project to talk about, an alternate that we've been talking about all year, well, for most of the year, that came out of the work with the pedestrian safety work, was a recommendation of adding this drive on Dunham for student drop-off and pickup, especially drop-off in the morning, to relieve the pressure of cars heading west on Norfolk and try to keep some of the traffic over to the east of the building. At the beginning, there was some concerns from board members of the overall cost. And then, of course, the cost came in higher than expected, mostly due to stormwater management is the key piece here. There was some additional requirements in for stormwater retention that has kind of driven the cost up by another $70,000. That entire amount of $278,062 is included in that current contingency of $4.9 million. It is still the recommendation of the administration that we do this work, even though this has become a more expensive project than when we started, because it addresses one of the key recommendations from the pedestrian safety study. Without doing this work, we'll have to go back and try to figure out how to address this differently in a different format. This has been kind of 8 months worth of work towards the best recommended option from everybody. We feel that with our strong financial position in the master facility plan, it makes sense to do the top option and just address safety in this way. It's up for approval tonight. If the board approves it, we'll move forward. If not, we'll go back and start over again. I don't have another recommendation to bring to the board at this time, since this is our overall recommendation that we go forward. So at this point, I'll take any questions that board members might have around this.
Hank, so you already answered my first question, and I was curious what caused the miss on the budget projection, where you know, what was more than we expected, and you said stormwater management. So I'm wondering, were there numbers drawn up? What's the trade-off if we'd gone to permeable pavers on the paving for this? What's the trade-off? What do we save on the other side of it with the detention, underground detention?
That's how we're doing. That's part of how we're doing this, is with permeable pavers.
Got it.
So that's part of the cost increase.
Got it. Well, and so that'll help with all the people that still come up to us and say, why'd you put all those pavers in up at North, and why didn't you do it at South? And so, well, here we go.
Or we might have to answer why we did it at both schools. But
yeah, well,
way,
I was gonna say,
stormwater management.
It's the same thing again. And I've experienced in this. I've just, the rest of the board members, so you know, I mean, I experience this every day with my work here in Downers Grove, and I have a large project right now where this is what we did. We had to go to the permeable pavers, and it seems crazy, but it's better to spend the money on things that you see versus things you can't. And so it'll look like a high-end sort of installation, but in fact, it's from a budget standpoint, less expensive for us to do this than if we were to put asphalt down. And I know that's hard for people to understand, but that's the reality of it. And
Yeah.
they can blame the not only the county stormwater regulations, but the additional level of regulations that are, put on us by the Village of Downers Grove. It's just what it is. So, so anyhow, unfortunately, it's going to cost us
Yeah.
more. But
I guess I don't.
There was a lot of consideration when we did the parking lot in North, and it worked out well. So yeah, I would be hard pressed to argue against this, just simply from the safety perspective.
Yeah. I guess I look at the stormwater. Didn't we make enough provisions when we put in that turf field that's just to the north of it? There wasn't enough.
I'll have Jim address that.
I mean, I guess I'm just asking.
No, but it's a great question, Terry. I'm glad you pointed that out. So when we did the turf field, we just had enough detention out there to accomplish fulfilling what we were told to use for the field itself. Beyond that, we didn't have any. So we were very limited on what we can do with our resources in that area. And obviously we're running out of room out there. As you remember, when we built the practice field and put that big retention area with that big monster out there under the practice field, that was part of the plan for that whole side, including the softball field. But when we did the turf field, we tapped off that to save some money. So then all of that went away as far as retention. So we needed a little more here in the front, the different sector of the building.
Okay. I just was curious because I know that was a pretty big area that we dug.
We only had so much room to build so big. Otherwise, we would have been in 63rd Street. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
You would think that would do the entire acreage of South High, but the equations don't work that way. They're very strict with DuPage County and the village, as Mike knows.
Just curious.
No, it's a great question, Terry. Just the way to think about this is every time we increase the amount of coverage on the lot for any reason at all, the village is making us do something to take care of that water, and many times that too. So, yeah. I mean, my opinion, long term, this is they're basically trying to get us to do more and more and more. Everybody, whenever you do a project, in order to make up for some of the sins of the past, and we certainly could try to build more capability in the event that we ever want to pave more, but the regulations might change again and things might let up. So it really doesn't make sense for us to do any more than what's required for the things that we're doing right now. And
trust me, I live on a retention pond.
I know, we've talked about it. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm tired of collecting silt and reeds from the Darien Club, which is Darien's water. So I know.
Maybe we could offer to put drainage under electronic signs.
Well, I would rather have electronic signs.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other questions on
you
the
know I'm going to bring that up at every possible.
Yeah, I second that, Terry. I do. So.
It would look beautiful over there, don't you think?
So here on, are there any other comments or questions?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
I'm trying to figure out where, I know we've talked about this and I know we talked about the cost. Where is this going to be? I was looking at the map. Is it off of, did we decide off 63rd? But I saw Dunham there. So I'm
No, this is Dunham. We did discuss a 63rd Street, but that one has been tabled until we see the impact of this one. Mm-hmm. So this is just past the new turf field as you head south on Dunham. And it would line up with the new Steam edition. That's what you see off to the left hand of that image.
Mhm.
Is that old East edition that was there, and then next to it, thanks Rod for highlighting that, is the new Steam edition there, and that's where it would line up with.
Okay.
So remind me, can you make a left into it or a left out of it, or you have to come from the right? You're not crossing lanes, or can you?
You can make a left into it, but you cannot make a left out of it.
And it was one way too, right?
Yeah, it's sort of one way.
One way going south.
Correct. You can
Mhm.
enter into the drive from the north or the south, but you must exit the drive heading south.
And it's a single lane?
No, there's
There
enough
is-
room there for two. And the idea is you drop off and then you can pull out into the other lane to exit if somebody is
If-
like taking too long to get
Wait,
people out.
I want to clarify what you just said, Hank. I was understanding that you can only enter from the north, that it was going to be one way going south.
No, because Dunham there is a wider street, they're allowing for exit from the entrance from the north or the south. Because
Okay.
if cars are waiting to enter from the south,
Oh,
turn
okay.
west, there's enough room for another line of traffic to get around people waiting to turn. So the village was comfortable with turning in from either direction. But
So
on
they're
the
not gonna
exit-
put a turn lane in?
No,
So there's no turn lane, but I thought, isn't there parking along?
not in the morning, there is not. It's only during the middle of the day.
Right.
Okay.
People use that parking for drop off right now, Terry. I mean, we do that.
Yeah,
with
right. I understand, but I just don't want to, have cars trying to turn in and they're worried about parking, because I have a feeling there's some of our staff parking along there.
They can't before school. They can only do if they come back to school after the school day is started.
Okay, so it's like 9 o'clock to,
I don't remember the exact hours, but yeah,
but something
it's
like
after-
that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And
Sorry.
this is working its way through. No, good questions. This is working its way through the village plan commission as well. I think the last meeting for that might be tomorrow. So
And
Are you
I
looking for
see,
consensus
are
right
we-
now, Hank?
we're just having an up-down vote later on under action, and that will give the administration the direction we need to know if it's going to move forward or if we go back and revisit this.
I just have one little comment. The memorial garden that you have there, are we going to be moving some of those bricks that are over by where the Mustang was? By the, I call it the pool entrance. That's where the memorial garden was.
Correct.
So
The
all of
entire
that-
memorial garden is being moved over to the other side of the building because the auditorium will come out to where it's at right now.
Right, but that's where it is. You've got that in that little circle area. You've
It
got the
actually
memorial
now
garden.
it's moved since that image. Rod, could you pull that image up one more time?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be.
No, it's okay. The memorial garden will actually sit now because this was a draw, an image from like when we first put this together.
A while ago. Okay.
Yeah, over just south to where you see integral sidewalk, the words there, that's kind of where, kind of over from there, moving
Between
closer to
those
the
sidewalks and the drop off?
and the new addition. Yeah, it sits over in that space somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but Ed and his team have been working on relocating that, making sure that it's the way that South would like it placed.
Yeah.
It makes sense that we would do it there too, because that way it's on our property. Where they're
Right.
showing it on the drawing was in the right of way. So the village probably,
Yeah.
had some
Yeah.
I
issues.
don't know, Ed, did you want to comment on that at all?
The line coming out of the new addition that has a bunch of T's on it, and then there's a square. It's basically right there where the square is, because as you come down this hall, this large glass, you'll be looking out at the Peace Garden.
Oh, okay.
And just to clarify Terry's point about the pavers have already been moved. They're out in front of the new entrance by the Mustang statue. Those were the pavers that the foundation sells. They're already relocated.
Now, can the foundation sell more of those bricks to go into that area?
That is
Yes,
correct. There is
The
room for
Peace
that.
Garden?
yeah, we took all of the leftover foundation bricks that hadn't been sold yet and expanded the size when we put it in at north and south, so there was room for continued sale of bricks.
Right, but I'm just saying, in the Peace Garden,
Not at
those
the Peace
are all
No,
Those
not
are
in the
two
Peace
different
Garden.
things.
naked bricks,
Correct.
right?
Those aren't part of the foundation bricks. Those are different bricks.
Hey, Jim, I
I
hate to
guess-
ask. Go ahead, Terry.
I was just gonna ask, can we turn around and sell those also? To maybe, because isn't that supposed to be more for military and service?
The Memorial Peace Garden was built, designed for the sole purpose of honoring the alumni from District 99 who were killed in service. So no, we will not sell bricks for any other reason on that space. Those are
Okay.
stones that are engraved with their names and their names only.
So,
Okay.
Jim, that original plan, the Memorial Garden in the right of way, now it's not in the right of way. Was the paving for that Memorial Garden taken into account when they were calculating the stormwater management requirements?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Good point, Mike, but yes, it was.
All right. Any more questions on Dunham Street alternate for the circle? All right. And as I mentioned, that's up for action later on this evening.
Have we had any Freedom of Information requests?
Oh, yes, we have. And we have responded to them, and they are all available on our website. Mark's been busy with Julie.
We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there any item any member of the board wishes to extract before we have a motion to approve? Hearing none, we're seeking a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes the A, personnel report, appointment certified, B, personnel report, retirement certified, resignations classified, C, personnel report, salary and benefits, wage increase classified, D, financial pages, E, acceptance of donation, 99 education foundation grants. Thank you. F, resolutions nomination for membership in the Downers Grove Land Commission. Thank you, Mike. G, property and liability insurance renewals, and H, allow carryover of all unused vacations for 52-week employees until June 15, 2021.
So moved as read.
We hear a second?
Second.
I think Mike was second.
Mike. Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
and Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Am I correct? We're moving on to D, the financial pages, or did we?
No.
Oh, we did that. Okay, sorry. I just lost my place.
Recommendation for action.
7A.
Yeah, 7A.
I'm getting there.
Thank you.
Okay, 7A, approval of Illinois State Board of Education Consolidated District Plan. We need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the District 99 Consolidated District Plan as presented for submission to the Illinois State Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Was that Joanna?
Yeah.
Mike and Joanna.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you. Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
and Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion is carried. Second is the award of the bid for the English Department novels 2020 to 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Terry, and I think Joanna again.
She can have it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Not those
Okay.
novels.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the textbook U.S. History American Stories Surveys edition for the 2020 to 2021 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Joanna?
Yeah.
And Sherelle first.
Yes.
Thank you. Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the award of contract for custodial maintenance and ground supplies to the noted vendors in the aggregate amount of $136,745.95.
So move.
Joanna?
So
Second.
move. Yeah.
No, we need somebody else. Two.
Second.
Terry, I think I heard.
Yeah.
Okay. Joanna and then Terry.
Thank you. Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
and Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. Now we need a motion for the Board of Education to approve an award of contract to Midland Paper, Wheeling, Illinois, for copier paper for fiscal year 2020 to 2021 in the amount of $26,516.89.
So moved.
So moved. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
And
Terry.
I'll second.
Dan and Terry?
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. And the final motion is for the Board of Education to approve the master facility plan alternate Dunham Drive at South High.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Mike and Joanna,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
and Nancy Kupka.
Aye, the motion carries, and frankly, this is one of the best motions I think we've ever had. So thank you all. Moving on to the second reception of visitors for public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board?
We have nobody here at the Administrative Service Center, and we have no new comments that have come in through the form.
Thank you. We'll move on to communication and announcements. Lend, Dan or Hank, any updates?
There haven't been any meetings in the last week or so. There's been one that was set up for this week. As a matter of fact, there's one Thursday morning. So I'll be attending that. If there's anything to report out, we'll report on at that time.
Thank you. Joanna, how about SACID?
Basically, it just was their election of officers and appointing of the committees. And they also are working on 3 different scenarios for next school year, including a return in-person instruction, continuation of remote learning, hybrid or shift between remote and in-person instruction. And the administration is interfacing with many organizations to anticipate including member districts. Also, they are working on ESY credit recovery and coordinating with districts regarding students. SACID has also applied for a FEMA grant. They're expecting, they went over the budget and they are increasing their enrollment by 8 students, which is about 1.86%. They had the usual they're anticipating salary increases per contracts, health insurance rate increases, IMRF increase, and that's it.
I'll also note that our district team is printing 300 face shields, or 400 face shields for staff at SACID.
Oh, that was not mentioned.
Yeah, it might have been since your meeting, but
yeah,
we've arranged for our team to continue their face shield project to produce face shields for all of the staff there, because many of the students have needs where we need those face shields for them.
Yeah.
So, they were wondering where they would find them, and we offered to produce them for them.
That's great.
And
They
the
can be proud
Ed
of our
Foundation
district.
has funded that. So.
I just love that our community is just so interactive. I mean, the face shields have been great for the hospital, for SACID.
Yeah.
Yes.
99 Foundation.
Yes, that's kind of piggybacking along with the face shields, because I believe that they're using the funds that are passed through the foundation for those.
Correct.
And correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so I believe that we've stopped taking donations in that segment for right now. Unless we find that there's a need for it, and then we'll start that up again.
Yeah, we've produced about 8,000 and raised funds for 15,000.
Yeah.
So if we hit the 15,000 mark, we'll ask the foundation to reopen for donations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we're also have a pass through for families in need.
Yeah.
And that is still open, and you can donate to that at any time. And we are, just waiting for the schools to determine what they need. And I think that's kind of been put on hold a little bit until school starts again, and unless they need it before then. And we're also going to be working on our bylaws. I'm sorry.
Taking donations is not on hold. Using
the spending is kind of slowed down a little bit because school is not in session. So we're working on our bylaws and hope to get those finalized before the school year starts. And I think that's about it.
Mike, did you have anything on IASB?
No, except this, curious. The III is still, hasn't been canceled. So be curious to see what happens going forward with that. So as soon as I hear something, I'll let you know. I'm sure we'll all get an email at the same time though. So that's all.
Coming soon.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not on the agenda, but just so you know, the next DuPage Division dinner will probably be a panel talking about legislation. And it will probably be a Saturday morning breakfast instead of a dinner, if it's held in person at all. So,
okay, great.
Okay, upcoming board meetings, June 15th. Sorry, that's today. July 20th is the regular business meeting at 6:30 p.m. to be determined if it will be virtual or not.
I will toss out there that there is a possibility that due to these guidelines that we receive, that there might be a reason to call the board back together to take action, whether it be related to curriculum, personnel, that the board, because of local control, needs to sign off on what we're doing. There could be a possibility where between now and the 20th, I need to call the board back together. I'll work with Nancy, of course, if that's the case. We don't have anything imminent at this point, but we know that we've heard that with there being more local control, there may also need to be board action that goes along with that. So nothing that I know for sure right now, but stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. Heads up. We're going to now need a motion to go into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, performance or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in the park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the district, or against legal counsel for the district to determine the
So moved.
Sherelle,
Second. Oh, go ahead, Joanne.
Okay. Second.
seconds.
Thank you. Sherelle Fuller,
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Dan Nicholas,
Aye.
Terry Pavicic,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye, we are in closed session.